All right, guys, let's start. Tell me a little bit about the history of Green Truck Visuals, how you guys met and got started.
Well, me and Tanner, actually, we met in 7th grade in a theater class. And I remember one day I was just at his house hanging out, and he just whipped out a camera kind of, and we just jumped on and went with it.
It was never really planned.
Yeah, we just jumped in, started. We filmed, it was called Morning Days, and from then I remember leaving, and me and Tanner talk about it. I remember leaving his house and being really affected by that moment because I'd never been in front of a camera before anything, and we were both doing theater for the first time, so it kind of just all went together. And we met a buddy, Chris, who I actually competed in speech and debate with, and me and him like had a real good vibe with each other on acting terms, and eventually we just kind of became Green Truck Visuals, and we're just doing all our own skits and everything. And Tanner was doing some Pearl Snap stuff, which was another YouTube channel, and it was a lot of fun. We kind of were competing with each other for a while.
Real friendly competition. It'd be like, oh my God, I gotta top that.
So you guys were kind of doing your own separate things. What kind of brought you guys back together?
That was the year Cornerly started. It was the summer previous to, right before rolling on it. I had been throwing around this script I'd been writing since freshman year of high school, and it started to actually become an actual movie. And so I was just sending it off to them, really just as a way to
Communicate.
Yeah, it was like, that was our excuse to talk to each other about film. And then they were like, hey, we want to do a web series. And so we all got together in a meeting, and with our other actor who played Mike in Cornerly's, Aaron, we sat down and we fleshed out this kind of a skeleton of what Cornerly's would eventually become. And when they first asked me to join it, I had never, ever been in front of the camera. And so I just assumed that's what they wanted me to do, and they were like, here, we have this role for you.
We're like, we want you to take the role of Sam, and we also want you to write your own character, as well as all three of our characters, with this skeleton. And he kind of ran with it and came out really hilarious. It was really great because it was all of us essentially just being ourselves with different names.
People always ask, why did you write it like this? It's like, well, that actually happened. We would always exaggerate reality. And we were like, that would never happen. It's like, well, it did.
Just so our audience can be brought into it, what's a kind of a brief synopsis of what Cornerly's is?
It was basically this group of film students followed their friends around on from the very first day of them moving in together, their sophomore year of college. Very first semester on their own.
And two of them were in a fraternity. One of them wasn't in the fraternity that they kind of were getting to know along the way. And so it was kind of that, how all their just kind of like weird antics of how them living together and the crazy things you go through in a college environment, really.
And let's talk about Cord then. Cord, our audience is going to see Cord, so if you guys could give a kind of a brief synopsis of what Cord is.
Yeah. Well, our buddy Chris Casanova, that's the third part of the trio right here. He's at the University of Texas, and he had a little project that basically what the teacher said was, we need a narrative, or we need a story with no dialogue in it. And he's like, I want you to be in it. I'm comfortable with you. It's kind of one of the first projects he had done. And essentially what it was, the idea that he came up with.
Don't give it away, because they're going to see.
Okay.
So he went off to the University of Texas.
Yeah.
And so Cornerly's took a break at that point?
There's actually a shot in Cornerly's of his character. He played Ryan's best friend from high school that would come to visit. We wrote that he went to a different university and everything.
Into the script.
And there's a shot in Cornerly's where his character storms out, and when he stormed out, he literally hopped in his car and drove to Austin.
Yes.
And it was like, we got one take at this.
So
and he stormed out and left.
Yeah.
So now you guys are back working as a trio, and there's even more people involved. And the new film that you guys are working on is Intersection, which you wrote. Give us kind of a synopsis of what that story is.
This story, and I cannot preface this enough, and I hate when filmmakers say this, but it is based on true events. And it was earlier this year, and one day I was at home, and he comes through the front door, and usually when he comes through the front door, it's instantly like we're just like happy, hanging out, whatever. And he just had this look on his face, and he was like, let's go talk. And we went in there, and he was like visibly shaken up, and he saw this guy at a stoplight, and his head was against the steering wheel, and he was looking at him, and he was like, oh, what's this guy doing? And he said when he looked up, when he was on the phone, he said this guy, and there's a line in the script that's like, this guy wasn't crying. He's like, I've seen crying. This was pain. And he said he was just bawling.
Yeah, and I was at that stoplight, and the guy looked up, and I legitimately, in real life, real time, had never seen anybody crying like that. And it kind of put things in perspective to me. You know, I'm looking at it, I'm like turning my music down, like trying to figure out, and we make eye contact. And right then the light turns green, guy takes a right and just gets out of there. and it put a lot of things in perspective to me that I was really kind of unhappy for little tiny things, and I really considered myself pretty fortunate after I'd seen this. And
this was
then
an hour-long conversation we had. Like, it was a real heart-to-heart conversation, but then it was our
hour and a half in, we're just like,
Our
we're gonna
minds
write a
kinda-
movie about
Yeah,
that.
well, and that's, you know, it's reflection of your life into
Yeah.
your art, right?
Yeah.
You guys obviously have had ambition and have also had drive and ingenuity to get Corner Lease out there and have such a big response for that. What was the process that, like, let's go and make Intersection and hope? I mean, what's kind of the process of what you guys hope to see happen?
Well, like I said, I think Corner Lease was a lot of trial and error, which was in itself really great. We all had a blast on that. That's our baby. Those are the characters we love. Right when we came up with Intersection, we called Chris and we just vetted all out, and we're like, all right, well, this is the path we're gonna have to take. And so we just decided if we can get into some film festivals, which is gonna be a battle in itself. If we can get into some film festivals and be seen, you know, we don't have expectations of like, hey, here's the $100,000, go make a film, but we have somebody say, hey, these guys are serious about what they're doing, and it's more than a YouTube show right now. And if we could ever come back to Corner Lease, you know, we're always thinking about how to involve our passions and everything. So it would definitely come full circle, but we don't know.
Sure. All right. Well, Garrett, Tanner, thank you guys for being here. Let's take a look at Cord.